everybody. In today's lecture, we'll be taking a look at another case study. So, in the previous lecture, we had seen a case study pertaining to the medical bed, and here we will see one which is a very different area. So, just to recap before we get into the case study, we discussed the design thinking process where the user is at the center. So, this user centric process starts with understanding, exploring, and then finally coming up with the outcome or the result. And these steps start with empathizing, then defining, then ideating, prototyping, testing, and finally implementing. And we also saw that the three important pillars of any of these problems that we are undertaking and we are finding a solution for, three things are utmost important, which is the desirability, and also our feasibility and viability. So, these three things go together hand in hand. So, even if one of those three is missing, then it is not a very viable or a very good idea to take forward. So, it is important that when we are generating ideas and deciding which one to take forward, these three are there present. So, the user's preference or desire, also the feasibility of coming up with this particular idea, taking it forward, and also the viability, because also the company which is taking it forward, it needs to be a viable solution. Now, this is diagram illustration prepared by my student Nandadeep Paul, and this very nicely sums up this entire process where we can see that the universal design, design for experience, inclusivity, design elements and principles, design research methodology, metacognition, design for accessibility, color theory, how all of these are process of designing and optimizing the human computer interaction. So, how they are, he has put them in this cloud forms that they are always present. The application is integral for this process and for optimizing the HCI. And then underneath each of these steps, which starts from empathize and ends at implement, so we have these different, all the ways in which we carry them out. So, in case of empathize, for example, we have user stories, role plays, interviews, observational skills, need and problem assessment. So, and of course, there are many more, and we have discussed some of these in the previous lectures as well. So, this slide is good for a recap for you all to recall quickly that what all we have covered since lecture 1. So, now we will come and see together an example, a case study, and we will see that how these processes are together, linked, and how these moved forward in this particular case or the problem that the student had undertaken. So, the problem given to the students was to identify the challenges that are in Uttarakhand, especially pertaining to the tourism, and come up with a solution. So, now this solution could be in terms of, say, making a website for a traveler who is traveling alone. It could be for an elderly couple, it could be for foreigners who are visiting. The idea was to enhance the tourism and also how they can promote the rich cultural heritage like food, traditional clothing, and handicrafts. So, how this virtual platform will be able to help them reach out to a larger number of people and communicate all of these features that are there in Uttarakhand and all of these things that it offers to the travelers. So, this particular case study that we will see has been done by one of my students, Manasi Burade. So, this is her work that we will be discussing now. So, her slides start from this particular slide, and this is the logo that she has created and the name she has given, which is the Virtuescape. So, combining the virtual and landscape, so Virtuescape. And her need statement, she says that an explorer needs a way to virtually learn about a place so that they can research about the culture and craft. So, for a traveler who is probably deciding where to go and they want to compare a few locations and see that what does the place have to offer to them, so they can research about the culture and craft. So, this is the specific statement of purpose that she has created. So now we can see that she has mapped the current scenario, that how the traveler starts the process of any travel. So the first is thinks of traveling. So we can see top left, it starts, and then the traveler explores the options and discusses with family and friends in case the traveler is planning to go along with somebody, or also just to keep the family or friends informed. Now, bookings are made according to the availability. Of course, the tickets need to be available, the dates need to be available. Then the tour starts. In the next step, the place is explored on the basis of feasibility and website information, because when we reach the place, so depending on where it is, if it is a secluded place, we may not have a lot of information there, so one will have to probably check with local people or go online, search the website, and take the next step and how to explore it. And then the cultural elements and food shops are explored when on site with limitations, and this cycle then continues forward. So now she has come up with the problem statement that Uttarakhand tourism lacks a comprehensive virtual platform integrating cultural elements like local food, clothing, and products. This gap hampers effective promotion and calls for a solution offering an engaging and authentic experience to enhance the region's appeal for potential visitors. So she has done her market study, she has gone online, Manasi, and she has seen that if keeping herself in the shoes of the traveler, that what all information is available, and she found these gaps. Now her goal is to develop and implement a robust virtual platform for Uttarakhand tourism that seamlessly integrates cultural elements such as local food, clothing, and products, providing an immersive and authentic experience. So now you see that how we are getting a little bit more clarity on what we are going to do in the next step. So we are starting from broad area, we are looking at understanding the traveler's cycle of how it starts, where it ends, and then it goes on. Coming to the problem statement, and then finally coming to the goal. So now we know that what is it that we are aiming to do in this particular study. So now here, this is the a mind map that she has created, and we have discussed a mind map, that how there is one idea at the core and then how the different branches are connected. So we can see that she has taken virtual tourism at the core because her project is also Virtuescape. So the virtual tourism, and then we can see in the gray around the white circle, we have multilingual support, technical aspects, virtual experiences, authentic content, e-commerce. So these are the points right next to tourism, virtual tourism, which arise when we think of virtual tourism. And under all of these gray circles, the subpoints, we have more subpoints. So for example, under user interaction, there is virtual workshops and local guides. Under e-commerce integration, we have secure payments, VR sets, control flow. So she has mapped all of these to see that how wide or how broad this map gets. So this is how she has created the mind map. Now in the next stage here, she is creating the affinity map. So we can see that the gray circles that she had identified earlier in the mind map stage, which are now a part of this affinity map. And here we can see the cultural context, virtual experiences, e-commerce integration, user interaction, and technical aspects on top. And underneath those, all the words pertaining to these themes have been listed down. So for example, under user interaction, we can see local cuisines, cooking classes, handicraft making. Under shipping options, we have local shipping and purchasing VR sets. So now the affinity maps have been created. So on these sticky notes, these main headings are placed, and then all the matching terminologies are underneath each of those themes. And so now that helps us to create the persona. So she has here a person, Rohan Mehra, living in Mumbai. So we know that persona is a fictitious character, it is not a real character, but a persona which captures all of these traits. So now this particular person who is unmarried and 28 years of age, this person's goals are thrilling virtual adventures and culinary exploration. So this is what this person wants, and the frustrations are the gap between the virtual and physical that they encounter, and limited adventure insights, and there's a cultural disconnection that he feels, and their motivation is seeking adventure, integration of culture, and he's very curious about the cuisine. Now another persona here is of corporate worker Priya Singh, who's from Delhi, and she is 25 years old and unmarried. And now Priya has a physical disability that limits her mobility, so she has to use a wheelchair. So, despite the challenge of using a wheelchair, which has its own limitations, so she wants to explore and experience new places virtually. So, she would want that experience at the comfort of her home. And so, this will help her learn about different cultures, different places, what these cultures and places have to offer, and she can be at home while she's experiencing them. So her goal is accessible experiences, inclusive content, immersive features. The frustration is lack of community engagement, limited adventure insights, and inaccessibility. And the motivation is, again, she seeks adventure and she's curious and she wants to explore, and also she wants to access the authentic experience. So now we are creating the empathy map, which has these four sectors, four segments. So says, thinks, feels, and does. And here I'll just take a couple of examples to just discuss what has been done in this particular case. So the person says that I wish I could explore new places without the physical limitations. So they are telling the researcher this particular statement. And what they are thinking is that will this platform be accessible and easy to use? So when the researcher or designer is telling them that this is what we are designing, a platform where you can experience the state, the food, culture, everything which is important from an adventure point of view while sitting at home. So now they're saying that yes, I am, I am adventurous and I want to experience new places, but they're also thinking at the same time that will it be accessible? Will this platform be accessible? Will it be immersive enough, this experience, or will it just be on a surface level? So all of these things, they are going in the minds of these users. Then what they're feeling is that they're enthusiastic about discovering new places virtually. So they're like, they have this intriguing feeling, the feeling of intrigue that okay, there may be something interesting and I would want to explore this place virtually. And also some of them will feel that they are grateful to be able to access these places virtually. Excitement is another feeling that they will experience because something to look forward to. At the same time, there is also the user can be frustrated because in certain cases when the platform crashes or it is not user friendly or it does not offer a lot of variety, it can be frustrating also. And finally, what they do is that they actively search for virtual tours and cultural experiences online, and they engage with interactive content like videos and live sessions. So you can see in this all these four segments that how the user is saying something and something is going on in the mind, they're thinking about something and then they're feeling something else and they are doing a different activity. So we can see that how this particular step of empathy map can help us put all of those things together in front of us. So it gives us a very clear picture of what the user is feeling and it helps us empathize with them because now their problems are very real, or how they are taking next steps is very real for us. So it helps us, allows us to come to the level of understanding their thoughts and feelings so we can empathize with them to the best of our ability. Now here in this next step, a competitive analysis has been conducted. So we can see that four of these services are compared. So first is our Google Arts and Culture, then Airbnb and Experiences, then Nat Geo Virtual Tours and Rick Steves Europe. So now this is a very important step because we also have to do our literature study or desk research to see that we are not reinventing the wheel. If something is already there, which is doing its fulfilling the purpose, doing its job, then of course that means that it is a successful model and we can take inspiration from it. And now these are all different platforms, and we can see here that the way to sort of give them the grade is green, which means that this particular feature is present in these particular platforms. The red cross means they are not present, and the blue wave means that somewhat present. So we can see that global audience is present in all four of these. So is high quality content. But when it comes to interactivity, we can see that it is present only in the Airbnb, and there is no way to interact with Nat Geo or the Rick Steves Europe, but somewhat in the Google Arts and Culture there is some, chance of doing that. Then user engagement also, we can see that only Airbnb is providing that. Region specific content, so of course it is somewhat present in all four of them. And e-commerce integration, it is not present in any of these four. Live session or workshops and community features are only present in the Airbnb experiences. So we can see that this gives us a lot of clarity on what is available in the market, and as a case study for us to take forward, we can take the best inferences and the best practices from these case studies so that we can also include them in our project when we are taking it forward. So of course there is some room for improvement in Airbnb and experiences, but out of all of these options, it has probably received most of the green ticks. So now 5 whys analysis. So we have discussed 5 whys also, that how they allow the user, the designer, to go to the root cause of the problem. So now the first why that we are asking here is, why does Uttarakhand tourism lack a comprehensive virtual platform integrating cultural elements? So this is a question that we are asking, and we are then answering it by saying, because there is limited investment in digital tourism initiatives in the region. So to this answer we again ask why, that why is there limited investing in digital tourism initiatives in this region? So now again we are answering it by saying, because the focus has traditionally been on promoting physical tourism and natural attractions rather than culture and digital experiences. And again we will ask the question why. Why has the focus traditionally been on promoting physical tourism and natural attractions? And again we get an answer, and again we ask the question why, and so on till we finally come to the question, which is, why is there a lack of awareness and understanding of the potential and demand of virtual cultural tourism? So this is where it has boiled down to, that awareness is probably missing and understanding is missing. So the answer is that there has been insufficient market research and engagement with digital trends in tourism. So this leads us to this particular root problem, that this research and engagement with digital trends in tourism has not been done enough, and there is a room for conducting it and taking it forward. So now these two maps show the personality mapping and traits. So when we have our website that we are designing, so we wanted to have a certain type of personality as well. So we saw that in the persona, we saw these two people who had a different goal or different kind of personality, and they had different requirements. So the website also that we are going to design has to have a sort of a personality, so that it is able to attract the people, the right kind of people to it. So usually we can see here that in this X and Y axis, we can map the dominant, friendly, submissive and unfriendly features of the application, and we can see that where is our application going to lie, in which quadrant is it going to lie. So it also will take care of the other features that were missing in the market study that we had done, that this interaction was missing, or any other point that we saw which was crossed out. So those can be taken care of here. So that will give us an idea that since there were these problems in the other platforms that we have seen, or this particular platform which had the most of the features, so what kind of personality will our website need to have in order to offer all of those features to the users who will be visiting our website. So here we can see the brand personality, that whether it's informative, respectful. So take care that all of these are integrated. It has to be immersive, authentic, and also at the same time curious. So now this is the information architecture for the particular website. So this tells us the movement of the user, how will the movement of the user will take place within this, and where will they move, how navigation is going to be here. So all of that information is given by this information architecture. Also, it tells us what steps need to be done before we can take the next step forward. So for example, here we have a login page and we have sign up and create an avatar. So these are the options, after which we will come to the landing page. On the landing page, we will then have these various options like explore, live events, popular places, search, and notification. So if we have the keywords ready, we can directly search, put in those keywords, it will give us the information. So in the search option, we have filter, and then we have recent search. So when we search on our phone on Google, so it also shows us the terminologies that we have put in earlier. So if you want to click on one of those, we can do that quickly. And we can also add filter so that it makes our search very focused as well. And in the other flowchart is moving forward to the next slide. It's a little too big to accommodate in one single slide. And here we can see that the, if we take for example explore on the far left, so we see that explore is connected to places, and when we, so that line is continuing forward, and now it connects and takes us to 3 further arrows: culture, local cuisine, product showcase. So when we are exploring through a place, so it will now open up 3 options. So now we can go into culture. From there we can take a look at photos or view details, or we can go to the local cuisine. Again, we will be looking at photos and details, or the product showcase, where again there will be 360-degree photos, details, and also option to purchase, because they are the products that are available. So local handicrafts or local preparations that people make, artworks, so all of those can be then purchased here. So similarly, we can see that the live event arrow is further going down to the next slide, and also the popular places, that is also coming down here. And then we also have the accessibility features. So these are also important to be integrated in our website. So some of the ways in which we can do that is by highlighting the links, by using text size, giving the choice to use larger text, and optimizing the text as well, the spacing between the text so that the words can be identified and the sentence can be read easily. The height, the line height is important, also needs to be dyslexia friendly. Some letters can be confusing, or some readability issue, the flow breaks when, in the case of when someone has dyslexia. So what kind of typeface are we using which will take care of that, which will communicate very clearly and allow the person to read through the text. So all of these features are there. So all of these are taken care of, and we can see how this flow chart is moving, and it is providing a very clear cut picture that how all of these will be arranged in the particular application. So if you want to take a look at this particular project, it is also available on Behance. So I will share a link of that profile as well, of Manasi's Behance portfolio. So you can take a look at the project in detail as well. And this is the bottom navigation. So in the bottom here we will have upcoming tour and account information, where one can look at their profile, one can see the avatar, they have certain settings where they can choose a language and other things that are there for the user's ease. They can also maybe standardize the text size that they are more comfortable with. So every time they open this particular website, they are greeted with the same size and of the text for better readability. So now here we see the user flows. So we see the splash screen, then walkthrough pages, what happens in case of a new user, what happens when there is an existing user. So the new one will have to, sign up, and they can now sign up with Google or Apple or email or even phone number. So how the OTP will be received, or if they are existing user, so again they will log in with Apple or phone number or similar details. They get the OTP, they enter the home screen. Then depending on whether the user have a VR headsets or they don't have VR headsets, again the direction will change. So they can choose a place or rent, shop VR gadget as well. So this whole user flow has been designed here, and then it also continues to the right side because it's quite a long flow of the user. And then when all of this has been worked out, we know that how will the user be able to move through the application. They know that at what stages they will be presented with a new page, and they will have to interact with it in some way. So now we'll come to a paper prototype, which is the basic prototype. So here we can see some of the important pages, like for example sign up. So here email, phone number, password, confirm password, sign up, and you can see that how these have been quickly made on paper and they have been scribbled. A lot of effort has not gone into them at this stage because they are not supposed to be very polished. At this stage they have to just been to be translated from the information architecture that we have made, and we have to see the ease of the user while they are going through one step. So for example, if the login step is to be done, then what are the different pages that one will encounter. So now the next step is click pictures. So now they have to create a avatar. Now they can also take a latest photo. There will be a way to upload from gallery. There will also probably be a way to skip this particular step and come to it later. Then if they are login, then now they have email or phone number, password, or some other option is available because there are multiple ways in which they can log in into this application. And now it says hello, and there is going to be search bar on top, then explore, then we see these rectangles with these crosses. So some images will be there, live events, popular places. So you can see that how these have been created in a way that they are just conveying that all of those things that we saw in the previous stages, that we saw live events, explore, now how will they appear when they are placed on the actual screen. So now taking this screen size and then putting in all of these features to see the placement just as a placeholder, that what will come where, so that to check the ease of the user, that will they be able to use it. So for example, there is this sort on top right. So what is it going to sort? So is it some filter which will sort from latest to older or older to latest information? So now we are connecting, we can see explore, which is on the first page on the landing page, and we can see place one. So when we click on that, so then we will open the next page which will have the place one, where it will have culture, cuisine. So when somebody clicks on cuisine, so the next page will open up, which will have maybe some images of the food and maybe some description of the food and so on. So we can see that again, some virtual tour, the book tour, all of those things are there. So this is an example of the paper prototype. Now coming to the low fidelity wireframes. So again, these are also lo-fi quality, which is not the polished version, but here we can see that the lorem ipsum will do at this stage. So we are just making a placeholder for the text or the main heading that will come. Now the size of the text will be integrated here because it's the heading. We know that hierarchy will have to be followed. So this is the largest text, and then we can say that this location Mussoorie, which is in smaller text, and then we have these images, and at the bottom we can see some dots are there. That means that this will be a moving panel. The images will keep on changing, or you can also with a swipe one can change the images. We also see at the bottom there is that home button, the calendar is there, and also the AR VR headset, that information is present there. Then we have explore, and then there is an option to search, and there possibly also these smaller tabs here where the location's name will be there, so one can choose from there if they are not sure what they are looking for. But if they are looking for, they can just type in the name, say Mussoorie or Dehradun or any other place that they want to visit. Now when the location of Mussoorie has opened up, so we can see here that in the next screen that we have the image and there is an arrow, 360-degree arrow, so which means that we can flip the image around and see the 360-degree image like we had proposed in the information architecture. And then at the bottom we have some lines for the description and also the shop option, because if there are certain handicrafts or any other products that are there, or woolens for example, then they can be purchased. Also we can see the under upcoming tours, we can see that again some photograph is going to be there, then some text about this particular tour and start the tour. So we can see that the user can then select the particular tour that they want. If the tour is scheduled for a later date or time, then they can also pre-book that tour. So we can see that how these are much more refined version of what we had seen earlier. So these low fidelity wireframes also help us to see the actual placement of the image, of the text, the size, all of that is now slowly refining. We can see it is getting better and it is improving. So now for the user interaction, we can see that the font becomes important, the size becomes important. So the whole research into that has to be done. Then the buttons, we can see that one button is yellow with white text, the other is black with yellow boundary, yellow outline and white text. So which one will be better, which is more readable? So all of those decisions will be taken at this stage. So now we have these three color palette which we have come up with: text color, stroke color, button color, and different icons that have been designed here so that they communicate the right action accurately to the user. So now here we see the high fidelity wireframes. So these are very much close to what the actual website will look like. So they are much more polished, they are very clean and to the point, and they are at this stage still they are a prototype, but they appear like what the final product will look like. So we can see here that how the images now have been replaced with those square boxes with squares that we had seen earlier. Now we have put in the images there and we can see the different text and the size of the text, how it is varying. In the third screen we can see that the star rating is also there, 4.4 by the people who have visited it. Also it tells what this place is, duration, the price, some more information about it, and finally we can see that the button that we had designed, so the yellow button for watch demo and the black with white text for schedule the tour. So how this quickly tells the user without even reading the entire information that if I want to watch, then I will click on the yellow button. And also when one wants to schedule the tour, then what all information they need to enter here, so that is also given here. These are further examples, more views of those screens of the high fidelity wireframes, and some of the other wireframes which now when the phone we tilt it, so these cover the entire screen and they also become in the landscape fashion, while they were in the portrait fashion in the previous slide probably, and now how they are tilting to give a better view, a larger view of this particular location to the user. So we can see now this is ready for deployment. So this backend coding needs to be done to integrate this design and create the final product. Of course, at these stages we are conducting user tests where we are going to the user with the low fidelity prototype that we had created. So we are asking them, giving them a task like we had discussed, if you recall in the previous lectures, that how we are going to give them a task and the user is going to perform the task, and we will evaluate that how difficult or easy was the task for the user to perform, and based on what we are noting down, we will make changes if required. So for any improvement that may be required, we will make a note of it and incorporate them later. And then finally, after that, we will move to the high fidelity prototype, when we know that we have taken care of all the maybe the issues that were there, or some confusion, or some miscommunication or error if the user were making. So that may be maybe changing the text, the font size, the font color, the color of the buttons, or any other issue that the user is facing. So finally, when we see that the user is enjoying using this particular application, and they are not, any error is not taking place, and they're having a fruitful experience, and particularly in this particular case where they are having this virtual tour and they are satisfied, and they're able to identify and find their way around it. So then the next stage, like I mentioned, of deployment of coding, and then just making this accessible for all the users. So then that stage will take place. At the same time, regular upgradation of this will also be required, because maybe some new food will be added, maybe new shop will be added, a new handicraft will be added, or many other informations that. And after this, of course, the upgradation will be required. This constant monitoring is important, because there may be some additions of, say, cuisines or handicrafts or places to eat, or any other place for that matter. So for that, this addition and deletion and upgradation, all of this needs to be taken care of. So we need to also monitor this quite regularly. So this brings to the end of this lecture, and also brings us to the end of this course. So I hope you all learned and also had a good time following the lectures. So thank you.